Hello. We're starting with a tier list for our second episode because it's almost the end of the year. So we're gonna talk about all the movies we watched so far in 2023 and what we think of them. So I'm starting us off with Chevalier. Did you watch this movie?
I don't recall watching this one.
Okay, so I think I watched this by myself.
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect example of like a mediocre biography. So essentially, this is the story of a composer come revolutionary, French revolutionary. Um, I don't know his full name, but Chevalier. And he is, it's just his story about how he had to like, being black was obviously a part of the prejudice that he faced against himself, but he had so much talent, and he became such a big figure, um, but then he also agreed to like do like a revolution against the monarchy. So it's just like an interesting story in that sense, but I don't think it's anything great. I don't think it's anything bad. It's kind of meh.
Mhm.
So let's put that in the meh category. Let's talk about A Haunting in Venice next.
A Haunting in Venice, I'd say it was one of the nicer movies I've seen this year.
So
But
do you
then,
want to explain to everyone what it's about first
yeah,
though?
so A Haunting in Venice is from the same series as A Murder on the Orient Express, and what was the other one?
I don't know, but it's just the Agatha Christie books,
Yeah.
specifically the Poirot books, made into movie form. And yeah, I've read a lot of these books myself.
So it's another one of these movies where there's a murder and then Hercule Poirot is, tasked to investigate it, right?
Basically, what happens is that Poirot is in retirement, and his author friend convinces him to go to this seance. And the reason for this seance happening is because a mother is grieving the loss of her daughter, who unfortunately committed the year before, by jumping into the Venice River. Essentially, the story is just about how that seance starts going very wrong, and like there's other murders that are happening, and they're just trying to figure out if it's actually like a vengeful ghost, or if it's like a series of murders that are actually like about murders. So yeah, that's the story. It's based on the book, I think Halloween Party, I believe, is the Agatha Christie book. And yeah, I have read that book. So, like I said, I can't be the best judge of it.
Yeah, so when I was watching this, I think just about 30, 40 minutes into the movie, when the investigation part was just beginning, I was able to figure out who it is. I won't say it was, with 100% certainty, but I was pretty sure that this is the killer. And as we found out towards the end, I was right. So compared to the other movies, I'll say this is also a meh movie for me. They didn't
Okay.
do a good job of, holding the mystery.
But we can give it a meh for now. All right. Next is Extraction 2. Action movie. Interesting. Do you like it?
Yeah, I'll say Extraction 2 was a really good movie. Chris Hemsworth is back and he's I forgot the location. Is it Baghdad or something?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's again, you know, I don't remember the exact story, but he's fighting all the terrorists and extracting this one man and his family, right? Yeah, outside the terror camp and everything. And there's a lot of action. The gun sequences are nice. The music is okay. But yeah, overall, the movie for me, I went in obviously watching Extraction. So I kind of had an idea of what it's going to be and it delivered for me. So I'll put it in the good category.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of similar. When I initially watched this movie, I was kind of like, it's perfectly reasonable standard action thriller, whatever, right? So I was going to say it's an average film, but then I looked online and I was seeing these videos about how a lot of the action sequences, like unlike other action movies that we've
Mm-hmm.
seen through the years, they're real. Like a lot of the shots are real. Like, do you remember that scene where there's like a helicopter and they
Yeah.
bring down all the like counter terrorists to like walk on a train? They shot that Like
Really?
in real, yeah.
We're gonna come out with a Warner sequence that's over 20 minutes long, where we have real helicopters landing on the rooftop of moving trains.
That's crazy. Actually.
Exactly. So it's like, for me, when I started watching that stuff, I completely changed my opinion about this film. And yeah, definitely a good. I'm only not giving it GOAT because I think the story is kind of standard. But for the fact that they made real action sequences, I have to give this a lot of props. None too.
Oh, no.
Okay. Well, for those of you who don't know, Nun 2 is the sequel to Nun, which is part of the Conjuring series, and it's essentially about this demon spirit called Valak, who terrorizes the earth in search of various trinkets to increase her powers. And she comes in the form of a nun, because that's like, supposed to be like questioning faith in Christianity or whatever. And yeah, it's just the story of how she continues to reign, like her reign of terror continues on earth. um well, this was bad.
I think the nuns' animations themselves were terrible. It's always this same nun just staring at you and screaming and not doing
I mean,
anything.
it wasn't this a Blumhouse production? I think it
I think
is,
so, yeah.
yeah. Blumhouse is known for making these low budget, garbage trash movies. So yeah, I didn't expect any great special effects going into this film. All I was expecting was some like scares, like the first one, and I didn't. I got the same scares actually, more or less. It was the same, oh, Alex murdering people in the dark or whatever.
Hmm. Also, all the scenes that have these jump scares, they're very predictable.
Yeah.
It's the same formula we've seen again and again.
Yeah, I
It's just a
agree.
terrible movie.
I've said this. I don't know if I've said this on camera before, but like, to me, jump scares only work if they're used sparingly, and
Hmm.
like there's like a good atmosphere that built up to it. This movie's atmosphere is a church and some like train travels to Paris and
Hmm.
and London, and that was kind of the end of the anything, like anything.
Yeah, this was.
So, what was the atmosphere? What are we supposed to be scared of? Just loud noises? Congratulations, you scared a few 10-year-olds in this who are watching Nun 2 for some reason.
This was so hard to get through.
I think we saw people walk out of the theater in this
Did
movie.
we?
You did, yeah.
I'm not surprised. It was literally a dumpster fire. Yep.
Yeah, you're gonna put it in dumpster fire or
Yeah.
no?
I'm gonna put it in dumpster fire.
All right, let's put it in dumpster fire. I was gonna place it in no, but I'll give you the leverage for this one. Actually, no, I gave you good for this thing, so I'm gonna put this in no just to kind of even it out because this one went
Alright.
down, so we're putting this one up.
Mhm.
All right, Air. Air was interesting.
Air was a good movie. This movie is about young Michael Jordan, and people are just discovering his talent, in basketball. And the movie revolves around a lawyer trying to negotiate deals with his family on the Nike deal. So which eventually became the Air Jordans. So that's the crux of this movie, and I think the way they show, a mother and a father not too aware about these things, not too aware about finances and business deals and all this, the way they show that this lawyer is trying to explain things to them and get them up to speed. I think they did a really good job. I like this movie. I think they also kind of showed what, such like what kind of a generational talent Michael Jordan was. They really laid the emphasis on that. I think everyone acted well.
I think the part to me that was like the best part for me is, yeah, I've heard the story from the side of Michael Jordan actually quite a few times because I've seen him talk about it in interviews and how his mother really like didn't play down his like her faith in his talent, and how that was what really led him to, you know making these kind of good decisions in film, and not in film, sorry, in shoes, in businesses, in basketball even. So I think I've heard that side. What I haven't heard is actually the other side of the story, which is Nike's side of the story, which is
Mhm.
how, like, absolutely terrible, their market,
Yeah.
like. And I just think it's interesting to see that side of the story too, because it's like struggling businessman meets a like a very immense talent, but still a new talent, and
Mm,
they're willing to like place a lot of risk on
yeah.
this decision to like make the shoe, and it's so huge now. It's absolutely like changed the market.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they did a good job of even showing like the business side of things, right? This salesman struggling, it's like such a hectic job trying to get this sale, or else he gets fired, he doesn't get his commission. So I think showing both sides of the coin was really good. I would place this movie at good.
Good or goat is kind of the question now.
Yeah.
So look at the other movies we have and then decide.
Mm, I'd say it was in my top five, so maybe goat then.
Yeah, it's putting. And you go there.
It was
Aha.
much better than Extraction, I'd say.
It was better than Extraction for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The lesson. So this is a British movie, and it's about this student who is like a graduate student who's also a tutor part time, and he agrees to teach the son of one of his favorite authors how to get into like a big top tier finishing school essentially. So he goes and agrees to stay in their house for the entirety of the summer, and then decides to, like also understand the writing process of his favorite author. And it's kind of the story of him using that as inspiration to make his own novel. And, you know, that's like the other like weird oddities of this house. That's kind of what it is about. It's one of those kind of movies.
Mhm.
Did you like it or did you not like
I
it?
did actually. I did like this movie because the main plot twist was something that I totally did not expect. And so yeah, I think they it was in some parts of the movie it was kind of like a creepy aura of what's even happening. There
What
was a
about
lot
the
of
Act 3?
where the guy gets in with the wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay. So there was some parts, for example, this one, which were completely unnecessary, and I feel they didn't add to the
Just
story.
out of left
They were
field.
just there, like random romance here and there. But I still feel the overall plot twist was something that I didn't expect, and I think it was, it wasn't like a very generic thing. It was a cool idea at least. So this movie, I don't think it's meh for me. I think it's good. It's a good
I
movie.
also think it's good.
Mhm.
Okay, coming to the best movie
Oh
of the year,
no.
Cade the Tortured Crossing.
I already know what you're gonna rate it, and I'm sure you know what I'm gonna rate it. This,
What is the story of this movie, Hemu?
oh god, this is something. This is like a piece of art that I even have trouble believing it's a movie.
You calling it art? Like
I mean, if it can be called that, but I have trouble believing it's even a movie. It was. I won't say I was surprised because unfortunately, thanks to Matangi, I have seen a lot more of Neil Breen than this movie. So, Kate the
See,
Tortured Crossing.
you can't appreciate his brainiest.
Oh god. Kate the Tortured Crossing was torture to watch. It just everything was green screen. The story made no
But
sense.
what is the story? You're supposed to tell that.
So the story was that Neil Breen is a rich investor in a hospital.
It's a sequel to
Is it?
yeah, it's a sequel to Twisted Pair.
I don't understand that one either. So, but finally, he's an investor in the hospital, and there's like a lot of wrongdoings going on in the hospital. They're like experimenting on people. They're experimenting on people, and Neil Breen is the savior who comes to stop all of this, and he fights the baddies and wins. That's the story, right? Or did I miss something?
What about Who Am I? What am I?
Who am I? What am I?
Wait, was that his evil twin?
Yeah.
Oh God, there's a twin. There's two Neil Brains.
That's why I said it's a sequel to Twisted Pair.
Yeah. So you can tell them about the twin because my brain cannot retain this information.
So there's two Neil Breeds in this movie. There's Cade and Kill, and Cade is the good twin. Like he tries to protect. He's like the savior of humanity, and Kill is like this evil, drug addicted weirdo who like tries to harm everyone, and he's like part of some of the nefarious goings on in this like mental asylum that for some reason Kill is like rich enough to invest in or whatever. It's like I don't know how he got all that money. I don't remember him having any money at the end of the last movie.
Yeah, they didn't show anything.
So I don't know how he has money suddenly, but he does, I guess. Something happened. He won the lottery. I don't know. But yeah, so that's what happened in that movie. But see, you say all of this, but I have one question for you.
Nobody can ask me.
Okay, no, but seriously, you tell me, what movie did we go where the theater was full in this year?
So this is how bad this movie is. When we went to the theater, that was the best theater experience I've had all year, and still this was the worst movie for me.
Okay, but like seriously, you tell me, like what, like everyone was packed. We had to wait a month to watch this film because it was booked until then.
I was genuinely surprised. So TIL, this movie and Neil Breen in general has a big fan base, and when she tried to book the tickets, it was sold out for an entire month. And when we did finally get to watch it, the movie theater was packed. It was a fancy movie theater, first of all.
It was like a dine-in theater.
It was like a dining theater, but there were like servers coming around asking us.
Yeah, it was like
this,
an actually good dine-in theater,
Yeah.
not like one of those like
not like an
shitty-
AMC diner.
Yeah, exactly, not one of those shitty experiences.
It was a bit finer than that, and everyone was pumped, like yay, Neil Breen. Everyone
Yeah.
was clapping. There was
This
standing
guy
ovations.
asked the guy next to him, "Hey, are we in the right?" Because like there was no directions when we first walked in, which is the only negative part of that theater experience. Like we didn't know whether we were on the right screen at all. So we walked in and like we were like, "Hey, is this like Cade the Tortured Crossing?" And the guy next to you like was like so pumped. He was like, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah, he was excited for the movie.
Dude, everyone was excited for the movie.
This is like just a meme movie.
I think I actually trolled him into watching this
Yeah,
because
she did.
when I first texted him, like I saw that it was in theaters, right? And I texted him, I was like, "Holy shit, a Neil Breen movie is in theaters!" And then you were like, "Oh, who is that? Is he like an awesome like person?" And I was
Yeah.
like, "Yes, he is the best." And then I booked the tickets, and then I sent him the trailer, and then he was just like.
Regrets. You know how sometimes when you refer
This
to
was
a
one of the
movie-
most expensive like tickets we bought also this year, by the way, because
Oh,
it
was
was
it?
in like one of those dine-in theaters.
Oh. When someone refers to a movie, sometimes they, say like, this is say it's a DiCaprio movie, right? You refer to the lead actors, and on odd occasions when you do refer to the director, then I assume like it's like a great director. It's gonna be an awesome movie. When she said, "Hey, let's go," it's a Neil Breen movie. I thought, oh my god, it's like who is he? Is he like Christopher Nolan? And then the movie turned out to be an absolute shit show, and I was very disappointed.
I was so happy. This requires its own tier, honestly.
If you want to add a tier below Dumpster Fire,
The
go for
tier
it.
is above GOAT and it's just called Breenius.
You know my rating already. I'm gonna put it in a Dumpster Fire. So that's why I'll give you the choice.
I'm gonna add a row above.
Oh god.
I'm gonna label it Breenius. And this goes right there.
Oh no.
This is the best movie of the year. I actually can't think of a better film.
Yeah.
Anyway, next is Barbie. I'm a Barbie girl.
Barbie was an interesting movie, I feel like. So first of all, it's about the original Barbie and Ken story, right? initially they're in Barbie land and they're doing all their Barbie things, and the way the turn this movie takes is that Barbie and Ken escape into the real world, and then they see how different really things are in terms of how society is today, and how women are treated differently and everything, and they're of course taken aback, and then shit hits the fan in Barbie land. Everyone's perturbed with what's happening, and then I think they reconcile at the end, and things are much better at the end.
Yeah, they decide to move in a more positive, direction
Mhm.
at the end. So
I think in Barbie Land, the art style was pretty good. The way they acted and the little things they remembered, for example,
her
just
feet,
moving the cup and not
yeah,
taking a sip actually.
and then pouring the milk carton, but there's no actual milk
Yeah.
in it.
The cars, the houses, all the scenery.
The fact that she's always has her feet like on her
Yeah.
tippy toes.
Yeah, all those little things, I think they did a good job. Of course, I don't know too much because I haven't played with Barbies ever, but I feel like they did a good job. And as much
They
as I
definitely
know about
did a
Barbie,
good job.
yeah. So I liked that part, and then the rest of the movie was meh for me, except for Ryan Gosling's dance and singing performances. I think he did a good job there.
I think for me, this movie actually was an interesting dynamic, right? Because if you look at it, I don't know if this counts as a spoiler, but take it as a spoiler if you want. And I'll put like a timestamp to the next film. But essentially, for me, this movie is like a good explanation of how both sides of the coin are bad, right? Like Barbie Land is a predominantly female run location. Like it is only women who are often in the government, the presidents, the doctors, nurses, everything is always women. Whereas in the real world, in this universe, most things are run by men. So it's kind of like how the patriarchy is bad, but consequently, it's also true that the matriarchy is bad because Kens are kind of feel like left out in any kind of decision making process just because of the fact that they're Ken,
Mhm.
and that's kind of not a good way for the world to perform. And I think that that's why I like the resolution at the end, because it seems to be moving in this direction of, yeah, we understand we need to bring in the Kens to also have their discussions, and we shouldn't shut anyone out from any kind of governing structure. And hopefully that's what they hope to see in the real world as well. That's kind of what the movie ends on. So I think for me that's like a good dynamic. So to me, I think it's a very good film. So I would actually put it in GOAT or good. So do you want to split the difference and place it in good?
Sure.
Next is Killers of the Flower Moon. This is a very, 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 very good film. So for those of you who don't know, this is a Martin Scorsese film starring Leonardo DiCaprio and I forgot the Lily Gladstone. That's her name, right? I'm pretty sure it's Lily Gladstone. But yeah, so it's starring both of them, and it's basically like a biopic kind of thing about how a lot of bad things happened in the Osage community in Oklahoma, where because in Oklahoma a lot of people found oil, which is like they struck gold, right, in the early 19th century, and all of that was on like Native American land. So because it was on Native American land, the Native Americans were the ones who were owners to it, and they became rich very fast. Unfortunately, systemic racism caused a lot of terrible atrocities to be committed against the Osage community, just because they had access to oil that they weren't even sure that they wanted.
I think this was a brilliant movie. There was also Robert De Niro, by the way, and yeah, he did a great job acting. DiCaprio was fantastic, and I was really impressed by finding this little story that nobody knows about, and it's a story that when you hear about it, when you watch the movie, you're like, oh my goodness,
Why does nobody know
yeah,
about this?
how do we not know about this? It's a crazy story. It's also non-fiction, right? So you learn something new. So I like that part about it.
I
think
know
it
a
was
lot of
really well done.
people will be mad though that it's like a 3.5 hour movie. But I think that the runtime is definitely justified for this film. Like a lot of people get mad at Irishman for the same reason, but Irishman is also an absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant film, and it needs to be like a 4 hour movie. Like that's not it just has to be that way. Like there's no way to cut. I can't say that they shouldn't have filmed something or something just took away time from the actual story. No, the story is that long. It is important to show it in its entirety. um I really appreciate the honesty and the level of like um level of good faith journalism that was done to make this movie into like a full length picture. And I will say that like yeah, a lot of people might be feeling that, oh, it doesn't make sense to like talk about this tragedy in a film form, but I don't agree with that. I think that we should be bringing like light of these things in like big cinema and bigger productions, because that's how you get this kind of message out there. Another criticism I heard was, why isn't somebody who is like from this Native American tribe making this film? But I don't know if that's fair, because again, I think for this, like Martin Scorsese is such a huge name, right? So while I agree that maybe somebody who is Native American might give this a more like maybe like a more authentic feel compared to somebody who's not really been like affected by this, I still think that him giving this coverage is also a very important part of
Yeah.
filmmaking.
I think it's, you know, very justified that I think he can pick this story. I think he did a really good job of showing both sides, the both sides being, one, the Native American sides, and two, the white Americans. I think this was a really, really good movie. And I also liked the little explanation at the end. I don't want to spoil too much. There's a little nice explanation at the end. It wasn't really an explanation, but it was a good way to summarize the movie with the whole stage play thing, right?
It's like
I
an
like
old
those
timey
nice
radio
touches.
show.
Yeah.
So most movies, like unlike this film, end usually with like, if they're based on a real story and they don't want to like show like an epilogue sort of thing, they usually end with a text note at the end, right? And this film didn't have that. This film had a radio show rendition of it, and it even showed like the great director describing some of these things to us. And I think that's like a really nice touch. It's more a unique way of doing that as opposed to just having blank text on the screen, So I really appreciated that too.
Also, something to note about this movie is the characters that they show in the movie, they are alive today. They're still alive, albeit old, but they're still alive, and it's a very recent story. So I think it's pretty important to know that this happened not too long ago, just a couple generations ago. So for me, this was one of the best movies of the year. I'd put
I
it
agree.
GOAT.
I agree too. You sure I don't want to put in Brenius?
Nothing else should belongs in Genius.
All right, fair enough. Let's talk about Five Nights at Freddy's. What the fuck did we watch?
Oh, that was a terrible movie.
No, I'm seriously asking you, what the fuck did we watch?
Beats me. This movie.
What is it about? it's about the game, I guess, but it's not though.
Yeah.
Game's also a meme though, to be fair.
Yeah. They took this meme
Video
subject
game
and tried to make it all serious.
with like children being kidnapped and
Yeah.
killed and shit.
And they just failed
And then they had
miserably.
Shaggy from Scooby Doo for some reason. I don't know what that was about. Why do you agree to do this movie?
Yeah, I have no idea. Look, so the crux of this movie is that there's this one guy whose brother got kidnapped like decades ago. Yeah. So he's been trying to find out about that ever since, and he's been unsuccessful so far. And this, he's also, and in the present day, many years after he lost his brother to the kidnapper, he's been struggling to find a job. He's living a pretty normal life, and he finds this gig to be a security guard at this old, abandoned like an entertainment area. And he does that and finds out that there's creepy stuff happening. There's the typical Five Nights at Freddy's animatronics, monsters, doing silly stuff. And it's just this is the kind of movie that you have to make a comedy, for me at least. You have to make it a comedy because it's just so goofy, and it's just, I just can't take it seriously because they want me to.
Because like you guys see, here's the thing that's kind of like weird to me, right? So I presume that the target demographic is people who used to play the Five Nights at Freddy's like video games, who are like people our age or arguably a little older than us, because like the people who started this is like old generation YouTube gamers like Markiplier and shit. They're the people who started the meme for Five Nights at Freddy's, and that's when it became like such a huge thing because a lot of people started playing it, but there were also a lot of people who were predominantly children at that age. So like it's like our generation, I presume, are like the target demographic for this film. So then isn't it supposed to be playing into the fact that it's goofy, or like it's just a meme for our generation, or are we just like out of touch and there are children who genuinely enjoy this now? Because I don't think this is a kids game anymore. I think it's like a serious franchise that kind of moved into like the more goofy elements of it because of the fact that it became such a meme when it started out. Like I just don't know who this film is for. If it's like a movie about this serious story of this brother who's like struggling with like a mentally handicapped sister, and like a very tragic backstory with one of his like siblings being kidnapped, and then there's like this murderous I don't know, Chuck E. Cheese owner who's trying to like murder babies and stuff. Like it's like so weirdly like cinematic and serious, and it's like, dude, this is a meme. Nobody takes the series seriously. Why did you think that people wanted want a full-fledged story of this? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand.
I don't get how the lead actor, this man, he's living a completely normal life, and then somebody tells him that, and he's completely like perturbed by the fact that these animatronics are moving by themselves. Then the explanation he receives is, they're just ghosts of children from 20 years ago, and he just accepts it like, okay, and he just goes along with it. It's just no, that's just, if you're trying to make it realistic, right? Otherwise, just don't. In this case, you cannot make it realistic.
Yeah, so just make it a goof. Yeah. It's not goofy enough for me to like it. It's too like taking this idea seriously, and that's not fun. And it's not even like doing it properly. Like you can maybe make like there are like gritty stories that like for instance like the Evil Dead franchise, right? Like it's got the goofiness from the original, like the remake, but it's also got like enough amount of seriousness and like grit that kind of maintains it in this like more new art style. And like I like that aspect of the new Evil Dead series. Like they did something with the old originals like weirdness and made it into its own thing. Like do that then. Like like everyone made this into a meme, sure, but you can try to make it seriously, but you still need to like wink at the audience a little bit. It doesn't work otherwise. Do you want to put this in no or dumpster fire? I'm gonna go dumpster fire.
Was it a dumpster fire?
It was really bad. I was upset. Alright, fine.
It's also not easy for me to put stuff in dumpster fire after having watched Cade the Tortured Crossing.
No, Cade the Tortured Crossing is an amazing movie. Everyone should go watch it. Just do a Neil Breen marathon with your friends. Believe me, it is worth it. It's awesome. It's so much fun.
All your audience is gonna end up with no friends.
Alright, let's go with Renfield. I like Renfield.
I liked it too.
I know a lot of people didn't like it though.
Really?
Yeah, I saw like one of the YouTubers I love to watch is Ralph the Movie Maker, and I saw him make like a 30-minute video on why he didn't like this movie. I don't think a lot of people actually liked it. It's kind of sad. I think for me, the only part that's kind of annoying was the fact that they didn't have enough Nick Cage in it. But sorry, we went on a rant. But yeah, for those of you who don't know, Renfield is basically I don't know if you guys know much about Dracula lore, but Dracula in the original has an assistant, and his name is Renfield, and he basically does his bidding for his master, and he was like part of like an insane asylum. Like he has homicidal tendencies. That's like the official report that the psychiatrist gives him. So he was in a ward, and then Dracula agrees to give him like everlasting life, and so he turns sides and becomes Dracula's like basically like his second in command kind of thing. But yeah, this movie kind of takes a more optimistic approach if in one way, but also a very pessimistic approach in another way, where he's just kind of this like sad man who is like desperate to get out of Dracula's like hands, but he can't, and he's kind of stuck in this very abusive and toxic relationship with his boss basically. And it's just about him kind of trying to break free from that. And I think it is a cute story.
I think this movie was a lot of fun. The way they show the dynamic between a toxic boss and an employee was hilarious in my opinion.
Yeah, it's very relatable for, I'm sure, a lot of people who kind of feel like they're kind of stuck in a job and not really interested in they want to move but they can't, that kind of feeling. So
yeah, it was fun. It also been a while since we watched Nick Cage on the silver screen, so I've been kind of starving for some Nick Cage content.
He wasn't there for a lot of
to that end he wasn't there, but then again it is called Renfield and not called Dracula, right? So the main character was Renfield, and he did a good job of acting too. I remember him, I don't recall his name, but I remember him from Beast in the X-Men series.
He's really good, yeah.
He did a great job. The way he was absolutely petrified of Nicolas Cage was so funny to watch.
And they had like a lot of good like real effects. Like it was not all just like CGI. Mm-hmm. A lot of it was like good effects. So yeah.
For me, this was a good movie.
Yeah, I liked it too. Next is Exorcist Believer. I don't even want to talk about it. You just talk about it.
I think so. Exorcist Believer is, from the same series of all these other Exorcist movies. But I feel where their falter is that if you're making an Exorcist movie, which is in this, part of this long series, your target audience is kind of centered around people who watch the series. And unfortunately, this movie is much worse if you've already watched the series. So I went into it expecting, they show gradually a possession becoming worse and worse, and then finally it becomes terrible, and they call in the priests, and they do all the voodoo magic, and the exorcism happens, and everyone's happy, and they kind of delivered on that. It was this, but that was the main problem, that it's just like any other Exorcist movie. Had I not watched the older movies, this would have been a new thing for me. But yeah, it kind of failed to hit the mark. It was just meh for the most part. There was a little twist.
It was very bad. It was just no good. Like, to me, the part that it's not the worst Exorcist movie. That's like literally the only like mark I can give this is that yes, technically speaking, Exorcist 2: The Heretic is a worse film. It is a significantly worse film than this one. But that doesn't mean anything at all. Like, it's so stupid. They were just like, some producer was just like, hey, what do we do with The Exorcist? And then the other person was like, well, we could just make the movie again. And then they were just like, nah, people hate remakes, so what do we do? And they were like, well, we can just make the movie again, but make it two girls instead of one. And and that'll work, right? And the other executive who probably, had his tie on too tightly and didn't have any air to his brain. It's like, sure, why not?
Yeah, the only reason I say it's meh, because if I hadn't watched the older movies, it would have been decent.
But like, who's watching this? Who's watching this as a first time? Like,
yeah, that's the problem. That's why I gave it a meh.
It's not good. It's just not good. It's like it's just really, really no. It's just no. It's just a no. Like I just don't like anything about this movie. It's like it's the same plot as the first one. It's got callbacks to the first one, which is even more insulting to me because the first one is such a good film, and like there's no real stakes. Like all the stakes are remarkably lowered from that movie. So I just keep thinking about the first Exorcist when I'm watching this film because they're desperate to try and make you want to relate this to the first Exorcist film. That's the part that's very frustrating for me. Like if they're just like made it its own thing and been like, yeah, it's technically part of this series and it's like a continuation, it would have been fine. But they have like so many reminders to the first movie. And that's the part that really makes it frustrating because I'm just sitting there like, no, that's a very good film. This is not. So yeah, I'm going to give this a no, and I'm going to place it a no because you pulled up Finance at Freddy's from Dumpster Fire of Cinema. Yeah. So this goes below. Saltburn.
Oh my god, this movie. This movie was a wild ride, and the gist of it is that there is a college student, and he's kind of a loner, a little bit too geeky maybe, so he mostly keeps to himself. Whereas there's this group of popular kids who we always
also rich, popular and rich.
Yeah, rich and popular kids always having fun, drinks, catching everybody's eye. And this guy who mostly keeps to himself. He longs to be their friend, and eventually he does meet one of them, goes to live with them for the summer, and the rest of the story plays out there. But oh my god, the things get so wild and so bizarre that it'll leave you with your jaw dropped. For me, I think it was in a good way. I don't know if that's the case for you. But this movie is so bizarre, you will never expect what's going to happen next.
I think the part for me, now I can articulate it a little better than that day, is I have a higher opinion of it now that I'm looking at the list that we have in front of us. But I don't think that this was good for me, only because now that I'm looking at the lesson, I realize why I didn't like Saltburn as much. The lesson and Saltburn have similar kind of like tones to them, where it's basically about this house is not what they seem or things are not what they seem kind of story. But it's not taken in a fashion where you're supposed to like piece together the mystery. It's taken in a fashion that they're just revealing this mystery to you and you're supposed to go back and reflect on how it works, compared to the previous parts of the film. So, and that's why I think I didn't like Saltburn as much, because now when I'm thinking about Lesson, I think that Lesson did a very good job of kind of taking us through the beats and understanding the weird psyches of all the people in the plot. Whereas Saltburn kind of didn't do. But yeah, I think the part that's like, they don't really go through the psyche of most of the characters in this movie. Like, it is sure the main focus is on the lead, but they don't even do a good job of showing his psyche, because his like story arc, it just gets like switched around only towards the end. Like, there's very little weirdness in between, and a lot of that could honestly be attributed to the like the backstory that he was given initially. So it's like,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how I feel like this movie did a good job telling like a story that flips itself on its edge. Like, it didn't feel like it did that. So we can split the difference and put it in meh.
Sure.
So far, the only things we've agreed on are Killers of the Flower Moon and yeah. Those are the best movies that we watched. Yeah. Everything else we were like, no, I didn't like it. I hated it. All right. Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3. A Marvel movie I liked this year. Woohoo!
Yeah, so Marvel's, for me at least, been
Become
disappointing me one after the other. But this movie was good. It was funny. It was action packed. And I like Chris Pratt in general, so I think his acting was amazing. This movie did the job for me. For me, in 2023, a Marvel movie is just supposed to be like a goofy, you know, chaotic experience, and I'm not looking too much for a profound story or some, cool meaning out of it. So I think Guardians of the Galaxy did a great job. It wasn't like long drawn out. Everyone was funny. That raccoon character, I forget his name, Rocket something. Rocket, yeah. He was hilarious. I think I had a fun time with this movie.
I think for me, you're right. The part, like, people do say that there's like a Marvel fatigue, and I think it's true. It's definitely true. But like, yeah, this is like one of those films that I've only been watching Marvel. I've completely fallen off the radar, honestly, with Marvel. So I've only been watching Marvel movies that I find interesting. Like, I think they have the potential to be interesting, or they're part of a series that, is interesting on its own. And one of them was Guardians of the Galaxy, and so far Guardians of the Galaxy has been consistent in its delivery of weird wackiness, and you can definitely see the influence of Guardians of the Galaxy in like the DC extended universe a lot, because after that movie came out, it was kind of like, oh, we should up the goofs in our films as well. Like, that was what happened with the DCU. But and I think because of that, it's like a monumental like project. Like, it influences so many other films. It's good, and it's so bizarre because like I don't think many people have read the comics. Like, quite frankly, have you read the comics?
No.
I have not read the comics either, and I've read quite a few Marvel comics as well. So for me, it's like, it's just not one of those like very common or popular franchises that just became so popular now because of these movies. So I think it's really good, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I would give it a good, or do you want to give it a go?
No, I think I'd put a good, yeah.
Well, let's go with She Came to Me.
What is this? I don't remember.
This is the movie. I'll just give the summary.
No, I remember. Go for it.
Okay, so essentially this story is about an opera like composer who is kind of feeling like he's out of inspiration for like a new thing, and it's starting to like ramp up on his head because it's been like a few years since he's made anything. And it's kind of his story of trying to discover how to become more, like get some kind of inspiration. And like, it's just the trajectory that his life takes from that point, basically.
It was a very weird movie. The only thing I like about this movie is the extremely... I mean, okay, sure. But what I was going to say was the extremely bare-bones skeleton of the movie. Skeleton of the movie is that he's a struggling opera director and he's trying to find inspiration, and then the movie happens, and at the end they show that this experience, his few days in the movie, was his inspiration, and he makes a new opera set based on that. I found that pretty cool, and then everything else that actually happened in the movie was so boring for me. Most of the time I was like, what is even happening? I think like Anne Hathaway and Peter Dinklage's characters were completely disconnected. Anne Hathaway seemed like a freak almost, with the thing she was doing made no sense.
And then she became a nun, so what?
Yeah, what? She was a therapist a second ago, and then she became a nun, and Peter Dinklage just doing insane stuff. It's
like, I don't feel bad for the lead. Like we're supposed to feel bad for the lead with some of this stuff, but it's like, I don't feel bad for him because a lot of the actions that he does are what like consequently cause any issues he faces, and that's true for quite a few of the characters. Like, it's so silly to me. Like, I don't get it. I don't get why. Yeah, you want to put it in no or dumpster fire? I think I'm going to put it in a dumpster fire just to fucking stack it for garbage. Asteroid City!
Another movie we split up on, sure.
Yeah. I liked Asteroid City. I don't think
you're gonna have to explain this one because I have no idea.
You don't know what happens even. I think it's a very bizarre film, but like if you're at all familiar with, this director, you should know that he's known for making absolutely bizarre films. Yeah.
This movie came across as
pretentious.
Yeah, pretentious. They were trying to have some cool, artistic filmmaking on the screen, but I was just like, what is this, man? It's so fake. It's got bored.
Yeah, I think so basically, for those of you who don't know, the story is essentially about this family that decides to go, help their son because he's been selected for like a very prestigious award that NASA gives out every year. And then a bunch of weird things occur while they're there, and they actually end up getting quarantined with all the other families. And it's basically this a comedy that's placed around the fact that these people are just stuck. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was very funny. I thought it was very weird. I liked the artistic use of film cameras, the way he switched between different aspect ratios and things like that. And I just I liked the way it was articulated. They were all kind of weirdly frozen, and that worked pretty good for the film because it's kind of people behaving oddly in a circumstance that's not normal for them. Mm-hmm. And I liked the quarantine aspect because it was very relatable to us after the last 3 years when we haven't been outside.
It's almost 4 now. Yeah, my main gripe with this movie is that the humor was just not for me. I could see the jokes coming, and there were many scenes where I'd be like, this could be a better joke, but they'll pick the joke that feels more pretentious or more artsy. It just was. I found no appeal in this movie. This is not good.
I also was looking around, and I think this was a divisive film because a lot of people who really liked it, but then a lot of people who hated it.
Yeah, I can give you the torch to rate this one because if you're gonna ask me, it's a dumpster fire.
Okay, well, I think it's a very good film, so we can put it in meh. Indiana Jones and the. Do we need to talk about this? Can we just rate it and move on?
If I recall correctly, this movie was decent, no?
No, it wasn't. No? It was so bad.
Why?
It was just everything about it. I didn't like the banter between him and his goddaughter, and I didn't like the youngerized version of I think Harrison Ford is far more attractive when he was younger than what they did. They didn't do justice for that at all in this movie. It felt like one of those sketch comedy shows making a parody of Indiana Jones than an actual Indiana Jones movie.
I mean, it wasn't the best Indiana Jones movie by any means, but I feel like the sets were nice. I honestly did find the banter to be, not bad between them. The sets were nice. And I feel like the story was, I like the story. The story was about this, this old civilization, and they had something to do with languages and stuff, right?
What? No, it's about how they were looking for the Archimedes, this time traveling dial, and that turns back time.
I don't remember this movie then.
No, that's really great. I don't know why we're talking about it.
Then I guess it was terrible.
It was terrible.
Yeah, I think it was meh for me.
It was horrible. I'm putting it in no. No, this. Don't tell me Quantumania doesn't belong at the bottom.
Yeah, it does.
It does. Don't tell me it doesn't.
Quantumania was so. It was so chaotic. It was so long. I feel like, was it 2.5 hours?
I feel like I was sitting in the theater for 4 years.
Yeah. was very drawn out. The story was just
It
so
didn't
generic.
make any like difference to the plot. Like, what did it add? Oh, they found a new Thanos.
Yeah. And whoever that character was, who was like a big egghead or something, right? The
Yeah,
floating
that's what
golden guy.
Thanos.
No,
Isn't he the new Thanos?
I have no idea. It's just, this movie was, I was lost. I had no idea what's happening. I didn't find it
Dude, I
funny.
hate
just
this
felt like
new realm.
sleeping.
It's just a CGI bullshit
Yeah,
fest.
this
Like,
was one of those.
what the fuck did that even add? Like,
This was one of those.
I don't even really like the Ant-Man series, but I found Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I like Paul Rudd a lot. So I found Ant-Man and the Wasp at least like possibly fun, I guess. So then I was like, sure, I'll go watch this movie for Paul Rudd because Paul Rudd's fun. And I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, this was not a good
I don't get it. I don't get what's like the point of having characters that can turn big and small when you make everything CGI.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know how big they are.
Mm.
Like I don't know anything. Like isn't the beauty of these characters the scale?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So then why are they in some random realm? Like how do I know what the sizes are like in some random realm?
They kind of missed the point there, yeah.
Yeah.
I get what
So
they're
that's
trying to
like
do.
that, but that like ruins the entire film. Then like the it's completely gone. Like the premise itself is like not correct for the characters they're putting in the movie.
Yeah, but I'm going to presume it is based on the comics. One of the.
I don't
comics,
care
right?
if it's based on the comics. I don't care about that. I'm supposing comic nerds are gonna come and murder me for saying that it's a bad idea. It doesn't matter if it's based on the comics. A bad idea is a bad
Yeah,
idea.
I think they missed the point there. The whole joy is seeing that he's so small in our real world. right?
Yeah.
But then they go into some fictional world and it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think about it like that, but that makes a lot of sense.
That's the part that's so off to me. So it just started off already on a stupid note. And then it just goes on with more garbage. I don't even know what the plot of this movie is. Like Ant-Man decides to like take his daughter on some vacation to like some fuck all realm, and then they meet morons and then they fight them and then everyone dies and the end, fuck off, bye.
That is a pretty good summary. Yeah, for me, this was a dumpster fire. This is the second.
Shouldn't even be qualified as cinema, honestly. This should just not. No. Haunted Mansion, sorry.
Oh, this was based on Disney's Haunted Mansion.
So you've been on the ride for the first time this year.
The ride was good. The ride.
It did stop though when we went
Yeah.
on it. And Disney was having some technical troubles that day. That would also explain why it had like an hour and a half long wait because
Yeah.
they were experiencing a lot of troubles. But yeah, the ride is awesome. I love the ride.
Mhm.
But what about the movie?
I think the movie was okay. I think okay, edging towards good. So it wasn't a terrible movie, but I feel like it's kind of like for kids. I'll also reserve what I have to say before you give a quick rundown of what happened because I kind of don't remember.
Well, alright. So basically, this movie is about how like this man, he's like a scientist, astronomer, something like that, and he meets this woman who's like a psychic, and he decides to come up with this like camera that like is supposed to be able to photograph ghosts. And then unfortunately he gives up on his dream because his wife unfortunately passes away, and then later this family moves into this home that's like seemingly haunted, and they decide to invite him over to make him like take photos of the location. And it's just kind of about how they try to figure out how to navigate living with these ghosts or living away from these ghosts and things like that.
I think the target audience is definitely much younger than I am.
I mean, it is a Disney Channel.
Yeah. So that considered, it's not a bad movie. I feel like I would have enjoyed it much more if I was like maybe 14, 15. So yeah, I think the story was nice. The ghosts, their personalities were nice. Visuals were decent. It was, sometimes it was a bit creepy, scary, in that way.
It was actually what I wish Five Nights at Freddy's was.
Yeah.
Like taking itself kind of like not seriously, but also having some level of like kookiness and a little bit of scariness. It's just a good blend of horror and comedy, which I actually really appreciate. So
Yeah, I think the age thing considered it's probably at least meh, if not good.
well, we can put it in May just to sort of even out these two.